So Ben can hear me, Brian can hear me.
She's
I
talking,
think
but I
the
can't
problem
hear her.
is with your sound settings at the fire station.
Station. Looks
That's
like
gonna work
Louise
if
is
we
at the
can't hear.
park.
Are you? You're something wrong with this. It's us. It must be.
The issue is these speakers work fine at home. This is the worst part of the
Chat.
pandemic.
Okay, which chat? Somebody said something. Computer sound on. As far as we know.
Testing, Louise. Can you hear me?
Get rid of this.
Ben, I can hear you.
Sarah. Well, we don't know how we're going to get the sound here, being neophytes as we are. Where's your sound system?
I have to say I haven't had dinner with so many people since March.
And we miss the inn being open, Sarah.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
I miss those beautiful beer pours that you take care of behind the bar when you're working.
The beer shots?
The beer shots and the extra foam on the side.
Exactly. There are very few places where you can get that.
That's right.
Louise's mouth is moving.
Yeah, Louise, now I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
So Ben, can you see the sail behind me?
Ooh, that's a nice one. Spinnaker?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you going to donate that to Don for his kayak?
No.
I gave him a sunfish sail.
Oh, nice.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I have called the meeting to order. Public comment period on anything not on the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the August 3, 2020 meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any additions or corrections? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Matt Brennan is not with us tonight. Okay. The issue of the sewer fees and taxes, we wanted to give people a chance to give input. And we do have one person here in the room. And I must mention that Ben has to leave at 7:30 and time is ticking. So we will go on with, I guess we'll start with you, Connie. Connie Lancaster is here. And she would like to grieve her sewer bill because she says she has one bathroom and sink in the upper part of her building on Main Street, not where she lives. And the other part does not have any sewage, any kind of facility. And she's operating as yours is not occupied, not a business. So you're paying 2 sewer fees now?
Yes, we've been paying.
She's been paying 2 sewer
double
fees.
sewer fee. And I believe that originally when the property was rated, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
When it was rated originally, it was based on 2 tenants on the main floor, one of whom was a hairdresser and had special sink and drainage, and the other was the chiropractic office. And it wasn't based on the cellar, which is not connected when the hairdresser left, she took her sink with her. We shut off the plumbing. It's walled in. There's no outlet there for a sink any longer. So the only plumbing on the main floor is a lavatory with a toilet and a sink, and there is a kitchen sink. There are no tenants. On the other hand, I realize a building is rated on its potential. So there's the potential for one business to be up there if I ever get around to renting again. Right now, I'm using the entire premises for storage, but I would like to understand how the building qualifies for a double sewer rate, and I'd be happy to give someone a guided tour if that would help.
It doesn't sound like it does qualify for a double rate. I don't know how they
Well,
can.
if there was two businesses operating in there, Connie, then it would have been charged as two businesses, so that would be two fees.
That's originally
But if-
how it was rated.
Right. So that's probably why it's now being billed as two vacant businesses. But you're saying that you feel like it should be billed as one vacant business.
Correct.
Okay. Is there? So is it? Can I ask how it's currently zoned with the town?
It's simply zoned as a commercial building.
It doesn't indicate the number of business units or that are in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And we have a permit to put up a sign that we went through zoning for that years ago.
Yeah. Okay. So, can we take that under advisement and maybe rule on it at a subsequent meeting? Because I am short on time tonight for discussion.
Does anyone else have something to add? It sounds like two fees is a lot for the premises, what it consists of.
Okay. Anyway, I guess my suggestion would be, can we table that until our next meeting to rule on? And
All right.
Connie, maybe you hold off on sending the fee in until we rule on it.
Okay, I will do that. And if you'd like a written statement, I'd be happy to submit that.
Okay, that would help.
Thank you.
Does that need a motion?
Do you want to make a motion to hold off on that, Ben, or do we need a motion?
I don't think we do.
No. Okay. Okay. How do you set the gallery in this gallery view? So we can see everybody. Okay, that's better. So we have some visitors and
We have some other sewer issues, I think.
we do? We have other sewer issues?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. What do you have?
We have the one from, we have the one from Ann Guyan, who is
Okay.
wanted us to revisit our decision on.
All right. And
Roads
Ann is
based
not
on-
here, right? She did not attend. Okay.
So why don't I address her concern, because I think that it just needs better clarification. I don't think I did a very good job of recording the rationale for the decision in the last minutes. So with her circumstance where she's got an Airbnb, she winds up being subject to the minimum fee that we've got for a business, which is one residential fee. That's the minimum for any business. So regardless of the percentage of time that her business operated during this year 2020, or the percentage of time, if it was closed for the entire year, she would still be subject to the minimum fee, which is the one residential fee. So I think that's the piece that she may not have understood. When we reduced the Saxtons River Inn's fee,
Click on
I don't remember the exact figures, but it went from, some multiple of number of fees down to half of that, but it was still well in excess of the minimum, which is one fee. So, Carl, maybe you could just record in the minutes that, in her case, regardless of the amount of time that her business is operating, as long as she still has a business open, which she does, the percentage of time that it's open, it's still subject to the minimum fee, which is one residential unit.
So even though her business is currently closed,
Yeah, if there's a vacant business, just like as in Connie's situation, then it's still going to be charged the minimum fee.
so we need to explain to her the difference between her situation and that of the Saxtons River Inn. Which
Well,
does
she's
not-
also open right now, currently.
But no, she's not open.
It doesn't, but the point is, it doesn't matter whether she's open or not. She's got a business that she's running out of that house, and if it's closed, then it gets billed as a vacant business, which is the minimum fee. And in her case, because of the way the calculation works, when it's operating, it's still subject to the minimum fee. So it's not a unique situation, but that's the rationale. If she decided to entirely close her business and no longer operate an Airbnb rental, then it wouldn't be a vacant business at that point. It would be, would cease to exist. So that would be the only scenario where her fee would change. But she's still operating that business, and we'll take on tenants when they start to engage.
I still don't think that addresses her question in her email about distinguishing between how we treat the inn and how we treat her business. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, so the inn, and I'm sorry, I don't have the figures in front of me, but let's say, for instance, that the inn normally would pay eight sewer fees, and because they're only open half of the year, they're going to pay 4 sewer fees.
Okay.
Whereas when she's operating her business, she pays 1 fee, and if the business is vacant, it pays 1 fee because that's the minimum. So you can't reduce that in half because it's always subject to the minimum fee of 1.
Okay, I think I've got it. You can take a look at what I put in the minutes and make sure I've got it right.
Okay.
When minutes come.
Yeah, I know.
Did you have something to say, Amy?
So I just wanted to be clear. So if the business, she went through in her email very carefully comparing what we told her, what we told the Saxtons River Inn, and what her
That's right.
understanding of her own business is. But what you're making clear tonight, Ben, is that if there is a business property, even if it is not operating, it is subject to the minimum fee, which is 1
That's correct.
sewer
Because
fee.
at any time she could begin to operate again.
Well, what she says in her email is that her calendar is blocked and she is not going to be operating through the end of 2020. Her business is closed, she says.
That may be correct, but the sewer fee runs into 2021.
The sewer fee is for the coming year, not for the past year.
That's for 20.
Right.
2020, 21. July 1st.
So what she asks is to reduce her fee by 50%, but you're explaining that she is at the minimum, which is
She's
quite
at the
different.
minimum.
Yeah.
She's at the minimum already.
Okay, do you have
Okay,
another one?
I think I got that. No, it was just Ann and Connie, I think.
Okay. Okay, I think we're ready to move on and welcome our visitors from Vermont Academy. I think you can all see their names. I know Jennifer and Dave.
Yes, so
And-
we have Dave Hodgson, Jeff Seaton, Brian Gilloran, Robin Patch, and David Petrie here together tonight to
all right.
answer any questions.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for letting us meet with you. This is such an unprecedented time, as we keep hearing, but the most important thing about, one of the most important things about Vermont, besides our great rural location, is that we look out for each other, and that has a great deal to do with the good statistics we have right now. So I'll just briefly tell you that we started our planning back in April, really end of March. And our main guideline, of course, is our state guidelines, but we have had a team of on-campus administrators, board members, as well as professional consultants who have looked at our plan and helped us develop it. And just in the interest of time, I thought what I would do is I would let Brian Gilloran, who's our project manager, kind of give you a rough outline of what our plan is, and then Robin, and he's our Dean of Student Life, and then Robin Patch, our Director of Health Services. We'll talk a little bit about the COVID testing and any other contact tracing or things that have to do with our processes. And then we can open up for any questions that you might have about our plan. And if questions occur later, we can say where to direct those so that we can answer them. So thank you again, and I'll turn it over to Brian to outline our plan.
Can you hear?
Hey everyone, how you doing? Brian Gilloran. Thank you for inviting us tonight. I won't go into too much detail. We have a very comprehensive plan, obviously, that we're working closely with the state to follow. The most pressing thing, obviously, was getting our students back to campus, and then the health and safety of our community as well as the greater village was our most paramount thing.
Brian, could you sit closer to the camera? I'm having a hard time hearing you. Thank you.
Sure, I can get closer. We're also, I think, getting a little reverb kind of, Louise, off of your thing. So maybe if you mute, it might help a little bit, but maybe that's just me. Is this better? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. So kind of what we did, arrivals were the most important thing for us. So we sort of staggered that. Sort of based on where people were coming from, how they're commuting to campus, and we had various quarantine policies in effect. So we've been following those very strictly, and we are not allowing anyone to come to our campus unless for set 2-week separated arrival dates, so we can count for quarantine and various other factors. We have adjusted some of our spacing, which we'll go into more detail, but basically we are following the key safety measures at all time of mask wearing, social distancing, limiting population density, and hand hygiene are the most paramount things. Again, if we are getting a little reback, I think that's why. But the most important thing is keeping everyone in our safe bubble. And then what we're going to do, obviously, we have a series of testing both before kids arrive and then once they're all here in our bubble that we're following very closely. And I think that we'll allow room for questions at the end, but I think that's the most kind of key things that I want to present.
Okay, Robin, do you want to share a little bit more information about our testing and daily health check-in?
Sure. Hi, folks. Thanks for inviting us. Louise, if you muted yourself, I think everybody could hear better.
We tried that.
Oh, there, that's better. Just because I think it's because being at the fire station is making it complicated. So as Brian said, we're doing testing. So we partnered with an independent school group that's partnering with a lab called Centogene. And we are on Saturday, which is 7 days after the bulk of everybody came back, testing every single person, every employee, every student on campus. And we plan to repeat that as was previously said after each vacation. We're only having 2 vacations, 3 times that we come back to campus. Over the course of the year, kids won't be leaving for shorter vacations like long weekend because there's no way to then create a quarantine period with those short vacations. So we're just having one long vacation between December and January and another one in March. In addition to that, we are hoping to add some other testing, actually on-site quick testing that we don't have our hands on yet, but we're in line to get it ordered. It was donated by a parent, that would allow us to do some random screening of the community in between those major test times. So there's some, you know, in the medical community, there's some controversy about whether that's, you know, useful or not useful. We felt like it would give us some extra, you know, security, that it would just feel good. As Brian said, we're really standing on the, you know, basic 4 ways that science agrees mitigates risk for COVID, which is wearing our masks, oh, I thought you guys were all raising your hands. I'm not reading the chat and talking. I was like, oh, look at all these questions. But wearing our masks, washing hands. Jeff ordered, you know, many more hand sanitizer stations. They're all over campus. And also sanitization or sanitizing. So classrooms and any space on campus now has the ability to wipe down between uses, wipe down surfaces, wipe down supplies between uses. And then also maintaining distance. That, of course, is the trickiest one with the teenagers. We have everybody back pretty much right now, and they're doing okay. Like we can't really keep them exactly 100% apart. They haven't magically turned into 100% compliant with the adult requests teenagers, because no teenagers are. But for the most part, they're wearing their masks, they're keeping their distance, you know, we're all getting into the rhythm of it. And aside from that, we have daily health screens of all employees. Everybody that lives on campus is required to do a self-survey every single day and submit it in a Google form that I can review and that Jeff can review. Everybody who works on campus has to submit that before they come to work every day. Every contractor that comes on campus has to submit that before they come. And then day students, because we're following CDC, as Jennifer said, we've talked to some experts, we've made our plans based on medical guidance like CDC, Department of Health, and also the guidance coming down from the Chamber of Commerce, from the Agency of Education in Vermont. So there's sort of different pieces that are covered by different agencies, and so one of the school pieces in particular says that any student has to be surveyed at their first point of contact at school. So all of the day students who just came back this weekend, and today was their first day of school, have to report for a health survey to the nurses, and whoever drives them has to remain in the car and wait until they get the okay that they can stay. The boarding students also get health surveys every single day. So we just sort of have layers of quarantine and distance and this and that, which is what we're standing on. Yeah, now
So
you have
Louise,
to unmute.
Louise, oh, go ahead, Robin. What were you
No, I
gonna
was
say?
saying now everybody has to unmute to ask questions.
Okay, I have a few questions. How many students are there?
Go ahead.
I was just saying, what's the exact number?
Well, it's about 170 because, right, there's about 20 or so kids that are off campus right now studying online because due to visa restrictions and other travel issues.
Okay. And what kind of plan do you have if someone does turn up positive?
Oh, right. Yeah. So we have, again, many layers of planning, but we had to set aside space, make sure we had space to be able to isolate and to quarantine, because as soon as there's a presumed case, that person is isolated until they either test positive and then stay isolated, or test negative because there's something else that's making them sick. And then we have to address all their begin some contact tracing, right? So look at their close contacts, and anyone who's identified as a close contact then has to be quarantined. So we've set aside some dorms. Rather than put kids in them right away, we've left them open to be these quarantine spaces. if, and also depending on which cohort of kids needs quarantining, like if, like a roommate would definitely need a quarantine, right? And we're also going to be conservative in our definition of close contacts, in that if any students that share a bathroom, we would identify all of those shared bathroom as close contacts. So it might be that an entire floor in a dorm is quarantined for a period of time while we're assessing a case or something like that. So I think the recommendation is to have 5% of your capacity available. And that's, I think, oh, I don't remember the math, but we have a lot, we have plenty.
I assume there'll be no inter-school sports.
I'm going to let you answer that.
Right now,
yeah, I'm happy to answer that. I mean, I've been working with the Lakes Region athletic directors in all those schools, most of the schools in New Hampshire. Right now, there is a plan to do sports starting October 3rd. All these schools have, we've all, and Jennifer's been working with those heads of schools. They all have similar plans that we do, that our boarders are here and they're not leaving campus. You know, our kids are here some are here from August 15th till December 10th and not leaving campus. We'll have these games the way we're doing it. You know, again, we'll see if we can. You know, as of now, the state, I don't believe is going, you know, I have to look. I think they'll change it coming up, from my understanding, when we hit a phase 3. So we would travel to, our boys teams may travel to Kimball Union Academy. There are girls teams coming here. So we're staying with one school one weekend. You know, communication with those schools. Obviously, if it's not safe for us to be going because either we've had cases on campus or they've had cases on campus, and then we're not going. The same as if, you know, for some of these sports families, the weekend, the off-season teams have been important for some of these kids. We're not allowing none of these schools are allowing the kids to do that. If they're caught in violation of that, that school needs to report, and we'll make a decision whether we're going to play them or not. And most likely, you know, or they're not sending that kid, right? And to figure out how safe it is to travel. So there is a plan, and it's always, you know, it's fluid because everything in this COVID is fluid. And we're trying to give our kids some sort of outlets here. But we're to recognize, if you look at where all of the schools that we play and you look at the Vermont travel map, they're all blue counties and safe to go. If they're not, then we most likely cannot go.
So parents would not be allowed to attend these games, I would.
Correct.
Okay.
No parents. Yeah, no parents coming to the games.
Outside people.
No outside people. The only people that are allowed to watch the games are the students on campus and the and the coaches, the faculty.
Okay. And the kids are not allowed off campus to come downtown or anything?
Right now they're not. I have spoken with Averill. I mean, I think, you know, we're looking at potentially starting if we've been here 2 weeks and after the testing goes. And I have talked to Averill about plans, and she's feeling comfortable to have, you know, we'll set up guidelines there. And I've talked what those guidelines may be with Averill. You know, but we want to make sure our kids are here for these 2 weeks, you know, what the guidelines are. So they've been instructed, no river, no market, you know, and then we'll see, as Robin said, we're getting all the kids tested. So either, I think the guidelines for Vermont, right, are from coming places is 7 days and a negative test, or 14 days. So we'll follow that. And most likely by the time the testing comes back, it'll be almost 14 days anyway.
Okay. Does anyone else have any Amy or Carl have any questions? No?
No, not me.
Sarah
has a question.
Sarah. Oh, I can't see you in the dark.
I know, it got dark.
Light.
Well, I would have to get up. So what is I understand you have a really good plan in place for the staff who lives off campus. And I was wondering if you could share that, because I think that's going to make people feel really comfortable.
I can do that. Or Brian, do you want to or Robin, yeah, you've got the details more, right in front of you, but we do have a good plan. And maybe Robin, why don't you speak to it? Because it is a health question.
Okay. I was actually, I bet Brian will do a better job with the community health agreement, just because he really crafted it with the other schools. So just, that's all, but yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
They all want to give me the credit, but it was a team effort without a doubt. I will just say that we have a variety of community health commitments, which were adjusted based on the type of person in our community. So we have a community health commitment for our students, and then one that is derived for our faculty, including those that live off campus, what they cannot do, where they can and cannot go. And that's directly followed everything from the state as well as the CDC. So all parents, all students, and then a different version to faculty has been signed and turned into our administration.
And staff as well.
Correct. And I will let Jennifer speak to, or even Jeff, exactly where those are being logged.
Well,
Yeah,
we haven't heard from Jeff, so.
Yeah, I would just really like to address it just from a really different angle, right? Which would be from how you're going to handle if you have off-campus staff get sick, for example. And one of the things that we are doing this year is that you really have like a no fault or no penalty sick time policy, which is in effect for all of our folks, so that we're not incentivizing people to come to work if they're sick because they're worried about running out of sick time. And of course, if you got sick, you were ill, you had any kind of illness that meets the various criteria that we fill out every day, returning to work and returning back to the campus if you've been off of it will require a doctor's note and that kind of thing. But it's a fairly progressive policy and an open policy. But really, as Robin and I talk through it, we don't want to scare people into not reporting being ill. And so it gives us the ability to do that. We also are have screened all of our employees for the variety. I forget how many there are. There's about 8 to 10 conditions of concern for an employee. They have a checkbox, and anyone who has checked any of those boxes, it can be a variety of things. It could be age, it could be obesity, it could be a variety of conditions that we go through. We talk about it, what the conditions are, and about the kinds of things they need to talk about with their doctor. If we have to make an accommodation for somebody, for example, teaching online for some period of time, we can do that. So again, we're being flexible and working with our employees so they're not just coming to work and working sick, as hardworking people sometimes do that. And so we're accounting for that and trying to make sure we're as safe as we can be.
I would just add that, and we're on the other hand, we're also, really holding hard lines. Like we had a staff person who was like, oh, whoops, I went on a day trip to a county that was not safe. And we said, then you can't come to work for 2 weeks, and you need to get tested and you need to have a test result before you come back to work, even though honestly we needed them to be at work, so I think it's both sides. We want to help people be home when they need to be home and not feel like they have to show up because they're sick, even when they're sick. And at the same time, really trying to have some very serious accountability for staff behaviors to be following all the guidelines and the requirements that are set out for them.
So I've got a question. Are you taking a stance on flu shots?
That's an excellent question, Amy. Jeff and I have talked about this at length also, even today. So we have not previously required faculty or staff or students to get flu shots. And we didn't this year either. And in terms of the students, it's an opt-in, it's part of the health record. Maybe it's an opt-out, but it basically, they have to address the question. And what I did this summer is every single person that checked not applicable, which means no thank you, I don't want my kid to have a flu shot, I communicated with them directly and said, we really, really are encouraging everyone to get a flu shot. Here are the reasons why. We're worried about flu season and the similarities with COVID, and we're afraid it's going to, throw us into isolation, quarantine, and exclusion for day students. That's unnecessary. Not that we would have anybody with the flu on campus anyway, but that we would keep, you know, in the community, we wouldn't. But and I got a really good return on that. So I would say that by far most students will be getting the flu vaccine. And I ordered those in the spring, and we ordered many. In terms of staff, well, maybe Jeff, do you want to just talk about staff?
Yeah, so we can require staff to get a flu shot under Vermont law, right? So you can still opt out of a flu shot on a variety of grounds under state law. And we've reviewed that with the school's attorney. The reality of it is that there'd be very few people who would be able to exercise that exemption here. And so we'd expect that most, if not all, employees would be getting a flu shot, whether it's provided by us or provided by their provider. I think on both ends, one of the wild cards for us is I know that the Scott administration is looking at mandating flu shots for schools. And at least right now, the Vermont has been, you know, pretty interesting in the past that they'll mandate something for public schools, but not independent schools. With COVID, that has not been the case. So if there is a mandate for schools to do required flu shots, that would highly likely come our way as well. And then that wouldn't even be a question we would be addressing. We'd just be doing it.
We did mandate, so, right. And I agree with Jeff, just because we're certainly, you know, with public schools in terms of immunization requirements, where there's no exemption for independent schools. Like all our students are required to meet the same immunization requirements as students in public schools. But we did mandate our on-site COVID testing. We basically said your kid can't be here if you're not willing to allow that to happen.
Okay, Carl has a question. You can't see Carl, but he's here.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it so you can see Carl.
In the event that a faculty member from off campus tests positive for COVID, what are your plans for screening their students? Are they considered close contacts in the classroom?
So it's very well. Close contact is a very specific definition of being at least 15 minutes within 6 feet of a person for 15 minutes or more. So masks notwithstanding, mask, no mask, shield, no shield, but 15 minutes, 6 feet. That's the definition of a close contact. So we've set up our classrooms according to guidelines too. So typically we would have had our classrooms, you know, we have tables, but usually they're in a rectangle, everybody's facing the middle. But now they're set up as though they're desks. All the students are facing in one direction. The students there's only 2 at a table. They're at opposite ends of the table. And this is a state requirement, we need to have seating assignments, you know. So today we had like visits in our classes. We're not starting classes till next week, but I teach health. And so everybody sat down and I said, well, today, these are your seats, but think about whether you like them. Because when we start class, wherever you sit down, that's it. And that's to help with contact tracing. So I think in that case, like if I can picture the classroom I was in, you know, the kids that were right up front, they would have been my close contacts if I ended up sick, because they were within, you know, around 6 feet. It's actually farther than that, but we would probably, again, be conservative and call them close contacts. But it wouldn't be the whole classroom. And again, we're taking precautions between every class to wipe off all commonly touched surfaces, like every table, every chair, light switches, door, and anything else that other people were touching.
Robin, can you address masks on campus?
What'd you say?
Somebody asked me about that, and I said I think everyone's wearing them, but I will
They
ask.
are supposed to be all wearing masks, and we are all putting much effort into keeping their masks over their noses and over their mouths. We supplied some masks. Brian's packing list for the boarding students asked them to bring 5 masks. We're helping them wash their masks. There are some, again, the state just put out some rules about, you know, gaiters. I think it's specific to sports, but they have to be 2-ply, not 1-ply. I mean, I think that the school took my recommendation. You know, there's many layers of what's a good mask, what's not a good mask, lots of studies at this distance and that distance and this kind of mask and that kind of mask. And some are better than others, but in the end, if everyone has a mask on, that's really doing us a lot of good. I think if we keep those kids from touching each other, if everybody's mostly wearing their masks, if we're washing our hands, I always say to the kids more than never, that we're going to be a much healthier community, and we have a pretty good shot at keeping the COVID at bay, or at least at a very low level.
Well, it sounds like you've made a good plan, and we're grateful for that, especially us older folks. So with that, if there's not anything else you'd like to say.
Celia, did you have a question? I thought I saw your hand up.
Also, Sarah, did that answer your question about the masks?
Yeah. No, you know, good luck to all of you, because I can't imagine a more difficult demographic to try to get them to adhere to something.
You know, Sarah, I was fairly skeptical, and I'm the administrator on duty tonight.
Yeah.
And so I was going around at dinner tonight, and there's really only 2 kids that I had to remind to put their masks.
That's impressive.
I'm not making, you know me, I would not make that up.
Yeah.
That kids are actually very, very, very compliant, and it was very, very surprising, because that's the same thing. So I actually found somebody on campus tonight who I didn't know who it was, not wearing a mask. Walked up to him and asked him why he was here, and that he needed to, leave campus, and that if he had business on campus, to remind him that he needs to have a mask to be on campus, and that person left. So I think we're all being pretty cognizant about that.
Yeah.
Does Vermont Academy have its own mask?
Pardon?
Do you have your own mask for sale in the students in the store?
We had a bunch. I had like 300 made up, 200, 350 made up, and then we did order some Gator ones too that they can buy. So that we gave out at registration, and I have extras because they'll lose them.
Yeah.
And the state gave us a backup supply of teenager-sized masks, 1,000 of them. So
great.
We certainly have a supply if someone were to say, oh yeah, I don't have a mask. Well, health services can get them 1,000 times over, which is great.
Yeah.
John, did you have a question?
Yes.
John Bohannon, former Vermont Academy teacher.
We live on Pleasant Street. If we see students skateboarding or walking unmasked the next period of time, to whom should we report?
John, if they are Vermont Academy students, which is not always the case, but if they are, we want to know about it, and that should go to either Dave Hodgson or Brian Galoran.
Okay, thank you.
If they don't have their helmets on, John, get them in trouble for that too. Okay.
I was going to say the same thing. Tell us if they don't have a helmet on too, please, John.
But just know that there are 2 homes in the village with teenage kids who don't look like Saxtons River kids, because they're not. Who are homeschooling from, I don't know where, New York, New Jersey. Their parents have rented a house, and so there are kids out in the community who you might not recognize, who are not Vermont Academy kids.
Thank you.
Louise, I just want to say in closing that I'm just so proud of the team here, and we've been working really hard. It's been great to see our students back, and the key to our success is really having them create some new habits and having unity on campus. So if everyone's doing the same thing, I think it's easier for them than the randomness maybe of being at home. So we're really hopeful. And if anybody has any other questions or comments, obviously we just answered John's question about, that Dave and Brian are leading our student compliance, but also David Petrie on the call here is our communications head, our marketing and communications. So any questions that anyone has, Louise, can go through David or me, of course. and we will be absolutely open to them. And we know that this is a partnership. We are very much a part of the village and take that seriously, and the health and safety of everybody in it. So thank you for letting us share our plan, and we'd love to stay in dialogue with you.
Well, thank you for coming and
Thank
sharing
you.
your plan.
Of course.
We'll
And
hope
I
to see
just-
see you
I-
around the village sometime, but maybe we won't recognize you with your masks.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
added my email and my phone number to the chat. So if anybody wants to grab it from there. if there's any
Okay, that's
additional
David.
Questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Good night.
Night.
VermontAcademy.org. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay. You got that? Trying to get rid of it. How do I get rid of this
Just a second.
thing here? I guess I
Just
just
click outside it.
outside it.
I just click.
Okay. No,
Okay.
dude, this.
Yeah, up there.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Sarah, did you have something specific you wanted to?
No, I was just gonna stay on for the rest of the meeting, but I can leave.
You can
No,
stay.
You're welcome to stay.
All right, you know, we're on until executive session, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're in the shadows, the shadow. Okay, so warrants and bills is the next topic. So we have a list of bills that we need to pay that total $13,882.47. And you've all seen that list. And I'll entertain a motion to pay those bills.
I move we approve the warrant and pay the invoices listed.
Oh,
I'll
any-
second that motion.
Any
Thank
further
you.
discussion? All in favor, say aye. We all have to say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next topic is the bylaws update study. Amy, do you have something to report or?
I have nothing to report. I am trying to become familiar with the bylaws. I still haven't been able to get a comparable set from some other village in the state, and I really need to go back to League of Cities and Towns. So
Okay.
thank you for keeping it on the agenda. My assumption, since whenever it's come up in these meetings, no one has had anything specific to ask about. My assumption is you just want them thoroughly reviewed.
Right.
There are no underlying issues that you're concerned about. Is that correct?
As far as I'm concerned, you too, Carl?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I'll try and get a little more on that. Sarah, are you making a gesture? Do you have?
Yes, because I'm just wondering if that is this part of trying to get the speed limit so that we get the money from the
No,
sheriff's
no.
department?
That's
Okay.
No. These are general bylaws which have to do with how trustees are elected, what sort of indemnification there is for them, how often they meet, what constitutes a quorum. They are what I would call the usual bylaws, which outline general responsibilities. It looks to me like they were seriously reviewed in 1990 and probably not adjusted much since then.
Okay. Before Jeff leaves, I wanted to, I meant to mention this to the Vermont Academy people that the cell tower base is complete. So we are on our way to having a cell tower.
That's
Or
great.
better-
It's a Verizon tower, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
You don't sound happy.
that'll be, no, I'm very happy.
Oh, okay.
I'm a CFO, I'm never happy.
All right. I meant to tell Jennifer, but you can pass the word around.
That's fantastic news. I was actually going to ask that. I was wondering because
Oh,
I
yeah.
heard it was moving along, but hadn't heard anything. So that's,
Yeah, the base is complete. Now
where
there's,
do they anticipate the finish date?
I
of the
don't know. That's all I know.
tower? Okay,
The last contact I had suggested to me that they might have the tower up by late this fall, but
Oh,
that was, before they started construction, so I
okay.
don't know what problems they may have run
Okay.
into.
great.
Wastewater treatment plant upgrade. I don't think there's any report on that. And on the fire station building, no report on that. Town website and open meeting.
Celia has something.
What? Have to unmute yourself, Celia. Yeah,
This is just a small comment on the fire station building.
yeah.
When COVID started, April was offering masks, which I've been sewing at the market in return for a donation.
Yeah.
So if someone came in without a mask, she would say, "I'm sorry, you need a mask. There are some here. Make a donation to the fire station fund." Since then, we've brought in about $500. So one of the reasons that we wanted to do that was to maintain awareness of the fact that the fire station is a project that's still in the works and is going to cost money. So that was just something that I wanted the trustees to know about.
I'm not sure I understand what you said. The
masks.
She's raised $500.
Wow.
And kept awareness of the firehouse.
Okay.
And impressed many visitors to the village that we have cloth masks available. And literally it is a donation. So some people put in $1 and some people put in 20. And I think it's remarkable.
So
people are.
Can we make more masks and put them in the basket?
Sure. I think wants to make masks is welcome to do that.
Okay.
I have a simple pattern that I'd be happy to share.
Okay.
She's not a sweatshop, Louise.
There's not little people in the background making masks.
I gotta say, it's a great service. I mean, if you're like me and you've walked all the way there and then you realize you didn't put the mask in your pocket, it's so great to be able to buy one on the spot or donate for one on the spot.
Okay, great idea. Maybe we should do some PR on that.
Let's not get over. We don't want to run out. But I would, if anybody else wants to be making them, just ask me for the pattern.
Okay. So Amy, town website and open meeting law.
So I'm sorry that Ben isn't here because I think this is a discussion. Unfortunately, he and I never have not been at the same meeting when this topic has come up. So during our special meeting, we talked about posting agenda and minutes on the website. And my understanding—
Rockingham government website.
Right.
For those who don't.
RockinghamVermont.org. My understanding from reading the minutes, which I'd just like to clarify in a meeting with Ben present, was that he wanted to make sure that that was not our
official
website. And I needed to understand that a little more. It seems to me that since we have no seat of government in Saxtons River, we don't have a town hall, we don't have a town office, we have individual homes. It would be very useful to have an official place where people go. So I need to keep building my understanding. If Louise, you and Carl understand this, maybe it's just a matter of your explaining it to me. But in my mind, it should be really clear to anyone who looks around where our official business can be obtained. And for me, it's very different going to a town office or going to a town website than it is making a personal phone call to a trustee of the organization. So it's Ben who put that into the minutes, and Mike.
Ben who made the motion. It's Ben who made the motion. I don't think he was the only person expressing similar sentiments. I can try to say a little something about the discussion, but I think it would be better if this were something discussed again when everyone was present. One of the issues about making it an official village website, and if you have been following the agenda posting for this meeting, you'll have noticed this, is that we have no control over putting things up onto that site. It all goes through the town offices. So the agenda was sent to the town early on Friday morning, so that in theory it would be there in plenty of time to be posted for the 48 hours notice. In fact, it didn't go up on the website until this morning.
The town clerk doesn't work on Fridays.
Pardon?
The town clerk's office does not work on Fridays.
The town clerk's not the person putting it up, was my understanding.
I'm still bitter about that, though.
I talked to or emailed back and forth with Chuck Wise, who said that, yeah, it would be easy to get up there. Apparently there's some glitches that have to be worked out. So one of us needs to talk to them about that. But more generally, I think there was a feeling that if it's going to be the official village website, we should have a little bit more control about posting things. And what else were we concerned about control over?
We would have to have our own website to make it be an official website. We can't be part of someone else's website. We would have to have a separate website, which we would have to pay for and maintain.
But the Village of Bells Falls is Shares Rockingham's.
Yes, but they have employees who can manage that.
Yeah.
We have no employees. We're all volunteers and maybe don't have the technical expertise to do it. Amy.
So would you mind if I checked with the League of Cities and Town and got a legal standing on that?
Sure, go ahead.
I know, for example, that a municipal library is allowed to call the town website their website.
I believe that we can name any site we want to as our official website.
You do?
I think we can, yes.
Even though we have no control over what goes?
Well, that's whether or not we want to do that. But
No.
we can designate a website as the official site for the town or the village to post and conduct its business. Then the question was whether or not we felt comfortable doing that through the town website. Yeah.
I take your point, and I am happy at the idea that this would come up again in another meeting. It also seems to me that we are dealing with a slightly unusual situation. Whenever I talk to anyone at town hall, they remind me that staff have been slashed. There are very few employees trying to do all of the things. I'm thinking particularly of Gary Fox. I've been working with him on the Everyone Eats grant. So I think we are in difficult times, but I get what you're saying. I still feel that it would be worth it, and I'd be happy to be the person to, for example, start the agenda 12 days before. I mean, there's no penalty for posting it, for sending it to the town earlier than the required 48 hours ahead.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I could not.
Wait a minute. Okay, we got too much background noise here.
So I'm going to cut to the chase and say, I would love to have this put on the agenda for another meeting.
Okay.
When we have more presence available. I am beginning to understand what the issues are, but I think they are surmountable. And I'd really like to keep pushing to make this, in fact, our official website.
Okay.
I would also, for Amy, like to bring up the suggestion that you posed in your email to me about posting the draft minutes of the meeting.
Yes.
And you had suggested that was a good idea, and I'm opposed to it. So I don't think it's a good idea to put up draft or unofficial copies of minutes.
So I would just respond that the open meeting requires that we post minutes within 5 days, not 5 business days, but within 5 days of the meeting.
I believe that the open meeting law requires that we provide the minutes to anyone who requests them. I don't believe that it requires that they be posted.
I'll look that up.
That's true.
Which
That
is
was
true.
my reading. That was my reading of what I looked up, but we should check that.
Yeah, well, I also think it's good practice. And your minutes are phenomenal, Carl.
I still, I still think it's not a good idea to publish them as an official document until they've been officially approved. And I get your point of registering, clearly marking them as a draft, and that's easy to do. And that is done for, I guess, select board minutes, I think, appear that way.
It's
But,
the same open meeting law.
Pardon?
It's the same open meeting law. It's not different for the select board than
No,
it
but
is
I mean,
for-
I'm not sure that the open meeting law requires that the select board do that.
Let's
So
look into it.
Let's look into it. Yeah. So
Okay.
I looked the day that I got your email. I looked at the minutes that had or hadn't been posted, and we were not the only ones who hadn't posted the minutes for the most current meeting within 5 days. So anyway, yeah, if you want to clarify that and see whether or not we have to, that'd be great.
I'd be happy to do that.
I mean, if we've got to, we've got to. I just don't think it's a good idea.
Well, you can't post the minutes, the approved minutes until after we've had a meeting to approve them.
Right. So
And that's more than 5 days.
So what Amy is suggesting is that the draft that I send out to
The
our
draft?
email list
Yeah,
be posted on the website.
okay.
It's very common in the other boards that I've been on. School board, 12 years, draft minutes always went up.
Okay.
This again will be something then that we would need to address
With the town.
with the question of getting the agendas up in a timely manner if we have a 5-day window to work with, because I do the minutes. I don't always do them Monday night. I pass them around for the board to look and make any corrections. It's generally 5 days before I send them out. So there would not be a lot of, it would be hard for me to send them out and get them up in 5 days if there's a 2 or 3 day lag between the time we send them and the time they get posted. Again, if this was something that I could do, for example, for our minutes, it would not be an issue, or for our agendas. But if it has to go through the town to get access to post the documents on the site, then we've got a layer of bureaucracy that we have to work with.
Okay.
And I get it, everybody's pressed, and I'm not blaming Chuck for not getting them up right away because he's a busy guy right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to do. And Louise, you had a question about the website, about whether or not the village should have a page.
Yeah, because when you go on the website and you look and it says minutes and agendas, there's no indication that it's ours, that there's Bell's fault. They don't have it divided up by select board. It's all one thing. And they don't have it divided by select board and trustees, either trustee. So there's no way that people looking at the website would see Saxtons River and would know where to go. Are you looking at it now, Amy? You're muted.
Amy, you're muted.
You're muted. You're still muted.
We can't hear you, Amy.
Okay.
I'm looking to see whether I could retrieve it by a search, but you're right. We need a group discussion.
I just searched Village of Saxtons River meeting agenda and it pops up.
Great.
On the town of Rockingham, right? It goes right to Saxtons River Village Trustees.
Okay.
But if you look at the table of contents or the directory across the top, there's no obvious place for Saxtons River. I think that's what Louise was thinking of. Whereas Bellows Falls has a sort of a home page where it talks about the village and it talks about who the trustees are, gives contact information, has a picture of something on it. And I think that Louise was thinking we should have something like that for Saxtons River.
You mean like where it says Town Select Board and then Bells Falls Village Trustees?
Yeah.
Then the next natural one would be to have Saxtons River Village
something like
Trustees.
that, yeah.
Well, there's
The whole town hall is closed on Friday.
oh, okay. So that's
Rockingham
why-
Town Hall is open 7 a.m. to 4:30 because I'm sure there's a huge rush right at 7:05 to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday.
Okay. Okay.
I cannot wait till next March. I'm gonna have so much saved up from coronavirus to address to the town at town meeting.
Okay. Have we beaten this horse enough?
Should we just put this on the agenda for the next meeting, just to review?
That'd be great.
When we're all here. Okay.
Okay. Is there any other business? No. Jeff, you want to say anything?
No,
you're-
just listening. I was a public servant for 8 years, so I have a tendency to listen to this kind of stuff.
Where are you from?
I spent 8 years in Missoula, Montana. Well, I spent 20 years in Missoula, Montana, but 8
wow.
years was working for the county of Missoula, which is a large government. It's about $120 million budget a year.
Oh, a little bigger than Saxon's River. huh?
Yeah. So I've heard everything from sewer and arguing about garbage to anything that you can imagine. I've listened to it all.
Okay, good.
And Jeff is a tremendous resource
Yes.
with water systems.
Oh,
I tried to help you, Sarah.
Well, you did.
have you visited our new sewer plant?
I haven't. Actually, there's an interesting thing that's out there that's very pertinent to the COVID discussion when we're talking about sewer plants, because early detection so far has been really found in communities through testing of the sewer.
I heard that. Yeah.
So I've known about that for a couple months now, and I keep thinking about if I have no idea what kind of testing interval and cost that would be. But that was one interesting way where I was thinking about the academy and the sewer district perhaps partnering with each other. That would be a huge community benefit in terms of being able to test that. But I haven't been to the plant. I've been to several hundred of them in my career, but not recently.
We have a special mascot down there.
Oh gosh.
What's his name, Celia? Sammy?
See, I don't even find that funny.
Okay.
It's crude.
It's crude. That's right. It's crude oil. Okay. Anything else? I guess we're going to end the evening on that note. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
I'll move to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Thank you all very much.